This is the first installment of several in regards to alligator husbandry. This first installment is featuring Nathan Sweeting, the owner and director of Smooth Waters Wildlife Park in De Leon, Florida. He's jumping right into the drivers behind his interest in the behavioral aspects and how he approaches husbandry, and a little bit of advice for some of the advanced hobbyists out there that have the land, have the permits.
So that's kind of where that started, and then the passion just grew with the crocs, and you know, it was about 20 years ago that we, the director of the department came up and proposed the idea of training and conditioning with reptiles. And you know, at the time and still today, you know, people just kind of dismiss reptiles as being anything more than just these cold, callous, emotionless eating machine type things. You know, there's no intelligence or emotion or anything like that. And that's, so we were really kind of kicking the ant's nest, so to speak. And but I mean, they are way more intelligent than people give them credit for and realize. And you know, I mean, communication in it, or training in itself is really just communication. So once you bridge that communication gap, then you really can start to see individual personalities. You can see their likes and dislikes. They do feel pleasure and pain just like we do. So, you know, I'd say the biggest flaw for most reptiles, especially alligator and crocodile, is that they don't make facial expressions.
Yeah.
So you can't just look at them and say, oh, you look happy, or you look sad, or
Exactly.
you look in pain, or anything like that, unless you know how to read the eyes or read the body language or listen to whatever vocalizations they're throwing at you. But once you kind of see that stuff and learn that stuff on a behavioral sense, then it really does. I mean, you can see it plain as day. Okay, he's having a good time, or he's stressed out, or whatever the case is.
Now,
so.
Trapper, let's talk about his enclosure and why this is ideal, and why keeping an animal this size in a, let's say a 10 foot by 10, not 10 foot, but a 20 by 20 isn't appropriate. Even though we are in Florida and you do have different amenities that can, you know, support this type of animal.
I mean, me personally, and preferences and all that type of stuff vary. You know, in a 20 by 20 enclosure isn't impossible to pull off, but it's kind of small, you know, for a bigger animal. Like we have, like Trapper is nearly 13 feet, probably weighs about 600 or 700 pounds. So it's not that he needs a lot of room, but it's, you know, it's kind of like, okay, so if you have a nice house in a subdivision, it's like you might love that house to death, and it's a tiny little lot line, you have no yard. But other people, you know, I mean, if you're on 20 acres, you know, you can be just as happy in the right conditions. But me personally, and the way that I've always liked to work with animals, is the more natural you can make it, the better. I definitely see it with these guys. You know, the enrichment aspect of everything, I think, is just tenfold compared to, you know, a multi-million-dollar, you know, concrete decorated enclosure. Not to say that the animals in those enclosures, if cared for the right way, aren't just as happy or as enriched, you know, and all that type of stuff. So it really kind of, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. But
now,
for a 13 or 14 foot alligator or 15 foot crocodile, I think 20 by 20 is a little small. You know, that gives you enough room to kind of, okay, I can sit in a little pool and you know, go over here and sit on land and get out of the water. And that's kind of like a bare minimum type of thing, you know. So I don't think I would be happy in that situation, you know. But
now, diet wise, what does an animal this size usually eat? Because a lot of people think volume is better, but they don't comprehend or put into.
Well, that's and I see that as a problem with a lot of herps. Is we as humans tend to feed things the way that we eat. Like, so it's hard for us to grasp the fact that certain animals, especially the carnivores, don't eat all the time. And it's not, you know, they're not like just hungry every day necessarily. So we make food accessible to everything, but we I guess we ration out. That's probably the best way to put it, is it's like rationing. So there's an X amount of food per week that'll go to, say, Trapper or the Nile Crocodile group or whatever, and then we just kind of stagger that and make it kind of random. Some places structure it so this is specific feeding times for whatever their purposes are, whether it's training or whatnot. But we like to kind of just randomize it to keep it somewhat realistic or wild-like.
Gotcha.